whisper for most of this video to start off, but once my mom goes downstairs, then I will start to talk out loud more without whispering. So basically, my mom doesn't let me, like, if it's relaxing or like something like that, and she notices me doing that, she always likes to make me do work. I'm supposed to be working right now, but I already finished it. I just don't want to tell her, otherwise she's gonna try to find something else for me to do. So because of that, I have to be like quiet so she doesn't know she's upstairs right now. Once she goes downstairs, I've already explained that, but okay, let's start off. Let's continue reading the Bible today. Also, I'm currently doing a huge project for my brother. So I've got all that stuff down there. Okay, we are on Joshua. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. I learned that song in choir. Okay. The Lord's charge to Joshua. After the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promised you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on the land I have given you, from the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Also, I'm not trying to say that my mom doesn't like when I relax. She just doesn't really seem like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be rude. I don't want to say any bad things about my mom, so just disregard that. Anyways, let's continue. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors. I will give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave to you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of the instruction continually. Meditate on it daily and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Joshua's charge to the Israelites. Joshua then commanded the officers of Israel, go through the camp and tell the people to get their provisions ready. In 3 days, you will cross the Jordan River and take possession of the land the Lord has given you. Then Joshua called together the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and half of the tribe of Manasseh. He told them, remember what Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. The Lord your God is giving you a place of rest. He has given you this land. Your wives, children, and your livestock may remain here in the land of Moses, in the land Moses assigned to you on the east side of the Jordan River. But your strong warriors, fully armed, must lead the other tribes across the Jordan to help them conquer their territory. Stay with them until the Lord gives them rest, as he has given you rest, and until they do too possess the land the Lord your God is giving them. Only then may you return and settle here on the east side of the Jordan River in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, assigned you. They answered Joshua, we will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses, and may the Lord your God be with you as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your word and everything you command will be put to death. So be strong and courageous. Rahab protects the spies. Then Joshua secretly sent out 2 spies from the Israelite camp of Acacia Grove. He instructed them, scout out the land on the other side of the Jordan River, especially around Jericho. So 2 men set out and came to the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there for a night. But someone told the king of Jericho, some Israelites have come here tonight to spy out the land. So the king of Jericho sent orders to Rahab, bring out the men who have come into your house, for they have come here to spy out the whole land. Rahab had hidden the 2 men, but she replied, yes, the men were here earlier, but I didn't know where they were from. They left the town at dusk as the gates were about to close. I don't know Where they went, if you hurry, you can probably catch up with them. Actually, she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them beneath the bundles of flax she had laid out. So the king's men went looking for the spies along the road leading to the shallow crossings of the Jordan River, and as soon as the king's men had left, the gate of Jericho was shut. Before the spies went to sleep that night, Rahab went up to the roof to talk with them. "I know the Lord has given you this land," she told them. "We are all afraid of you. Everyone in the land is living in terror, for we have heard how the Lord made a dry path for you through the Red Sea when you left Egypt, and we know what you did to Sihon and Og, the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, whose people you completely destroyed. No wonder our hearts have melted in fear. No one has the courage to fight after hearing such things, for the Lord your God is supreme God of the heavens above, the earth below. Now swear to me by the Lord that you will be kind to me and my family since I have helped you. Give me some guarantee that when Jericho is conquered, you will let me live, along with my mother, family, brother, father, sister, and all of our families. We offer our own lives as guarantee for your safety." The men agree. "If you don't betray us, we will keep our promise and be kind to you when the Lord gives us the land." Then, since Rahab's house was built into the town wall, she led them down at the rope through the window. "Escape to the hill country," she told them. "Hide there for 3 days from the men searching for you. Then, when you have returned, you can go your way." Before they left, the men told her, "We will be bound to an oath we have taken only if you follow these instructions. When we come into the land, you must leave the scarlet robes hanging into the window through which you led us down, and all of your family members, your father, mother, brothers, and all of your relatives must be here inside the house. If they go out into the street and are killed, it will not be our fault, but if anyone lays a hand on the people inside this house, we will accept the responsibility for their death. If you betray us, however, we are not bound by this oath in any way." "I accept your terms," she said, and she sent them on their way, leaving the scarlet robe hanging from the window. The spies went up into the hill country and stayed there 3 days. The men who were chasing them searched everywhere along the road, but they finally returned without success. Then 2 spies came down from the hill country across the Jordan River and reported to Joshua all that had happened to them. "The Lord has given us the whole land," they said, "for all the people in the land are terrified of us." The Israelites crossed the Jordan. Early the next morning, Joshua and all the Israelites left Acacia Grove and arrived at the banks of the Jordan River, where they camped before crossing. 3 days later, as the Israelite officers went through the camp, giving these instructions to the people, "When you see the Levitical priests carrying the Ark of Covenant of the Lord your God, move out of your position and follow them, since you have never traveled this way before. They will guide you. Stay about half a mile behind them, keeping a clear distance between you and the ark. Make sure you don't come any closer." Then Joshua told the people, "Purify yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do great wonders among you." In the morning, Joshua said to the priests, "Lift up the Ark of Covenant and lead the people across the river." And so they started and went ahead of the people. The Lord told Joshua, "Today I will begin to make you great leaders in the eyes of the Israelites. They will know that I am with you, just as I was with Moses. Give this command to the priests who carry the Ark of Covenant. When you reach the banks of the Jordan River, take a few steps into the river and stop there." So Joshua told the Israelites, "Come and listen to what the Lord your God says. Today you will know that the living God is among you. He will surely drive out the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites ahead of you. Look at the Ark of Covenant, which belongs to the Lord of the whole earth, who will lead you across the Jordan River. Now choose 12 men from the tribe of Israel, 1 from each tribe. The priests will carry the ark of the Lord of all the earth. As soon as the feet touch the water, and the flow of water will be cut off from the stream, and the river will stand up like a wall." So the people left their camps to cross the Jordan, and the priests who were carrying the Ark of Covenant went ahead of them. It was the harvest season, and the Jordan was overflowing its banks. But as soon as the feet of the priests were carrying the ark touched the water at the river's edge, the water above that point began backing up a great distance away at a town called Adam, which is near Zarethan. And the water below that point flow on the Dead sea until the river bed was dry. Then all the people crossed over to the town of Jericho. Meanwhile, the priests who were carrying the Ark of the Lord's covenant stood on dry ground in the middle of the riverbed as the people passed by. They waited until the whole nation of Israel had crossed the Jordan on dry ground. Memorials to the Jordan crossing. Okay. When the people had crossed the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Now choose 12 men, one from each tribe. Tell them, take 12 stones from the very place where the priests are standing in the middle of the Jordan. Carry them out and pile them up to a place where you can camp tonight." So Joshua called together the 12 men he had chosen, one from each of the tribes of Israel. He told them, "Go out into the middle of the Jordan in front of the Ark of the Lord your God. Each of you must pick up a stone and carry it on your shoulder. 12 stones in all, one for each of the 12 tribes of Israel. We will use these stones to build a memorial. In the future, your children ask you, 'What do these stones mean?' Then you can tell them that is a reminder to us that the Jordan River stopped flowing when the Ark of the Lord's covenant went across. These stones will stand as a forever memorial among the people of Israel." Among the people of Israel. Oopsies. So the men did as Joshua had commanded them. They took 12 stones from the middle of the Jordan River, one for each of the tribe, just as the Lord had told Joshua. They carried them to the place where they camped for the night and constructed the memorial there. Joshua also set up another pile of 12 stones in the middle of the Jordan at the place where the priests who carried the Ark of the Covenant were standing, and they are there to this day. It's crazy. The priests who were carrying the Ark stood in the middle of the river until all of the Lord's commands that Moses had given to Joshua were carried out. Meanwhile, the people hurried across the riverbed, and when everyone was safely on the other side, the priests crossed over with the Ark as the people watched. The armed warrior from the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh led the Israelites across the Jordan just as Moses had directed. These armed men, about 40,000 strong, were ready for battle, and the Lord was waiting with them as they crossed over to the plains of Jericho. That day the Lord made Joshua a great leader in the eyes of all the Israelites, and the rest of his life that revered him much as they had revered Moses. Then the Lord had said to Joshua, "Command the priests carrying the Ark of Covenant to come up out of the riverbed." So Joshua gave the command. As soon as the priests carried the Ark of the Lord's covenant came out of the riverbed, and their feet were on high ground, the water of the Jordan returned and overflowed its banks as before. The people crossed the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month. Then they camped at Gilgal, just east of Jericho. It was the Gilgal that Joshua piled up 12 stones taken from the Jordan River. Then Joshua said to the Israelites, "In the future your children will ask, 'What do these stones mean?' Then you can tell them this is where the Israelites crossed the Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the river right before your eyes, and he kept it dry until you were all across, just as he had done at the Red Sea, when he dried it up until we all crossed it over. He did this so all the nations of the earth might know that the Lord's hand is so powerful, and you might fear, and you will fear the Lord your God forever." When all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and all the Canaanite kings who lived along the Mediterranean coast heard how the Lord had dried up the Jordan River so the people of Israel could cross, they lost heart and were paralyzed with fear because of them. Israel reestablishes covenant ceremonies. At that time, the Lord told Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the second generation of Israelites." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the entire male population of Israel of Gibeath Haraloth. Joshua had to circumcise them because all the men who were old enough to fight in battle when they left Egypt had died in the wilderness. Those who left Egypt had all been circumcised, but none of those born after the Exodus during the year in the wilderness had been circumcised. The Israelites had traveled in the wilderness for 40 years until all the men who were old enough to fight in battle when they left Egypt had died, for they had disobeyed the Lord, and the Lord vowed he would not let them enter the land he had sworn to give us, a land flowing with milk and honey. So Joshua circumcised their sons, those who had grown up to take their father's places, for they had not been circumcised on the way to the promised land. After all the males had been circumcised, they rested in the camp until they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, I'm so used to saying Moses, "Today I have rolled away the shame of your slavery in Egypt, so that this place has been called Gilgal to this day." While the Israelites were camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, they celebrated Passover on the evening of the 14th day of the first month. The next day they began to eat unleavened bread and roasted grain harvested from the land. No manna appeared on the day they first ate from the crops of the land, and it was never seen again. So from that time on, the Israelites ate from the crop of Canaan. The Lord's commander confronts Joshua. When Joshua was near the town of Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and demanded, "Are you friend or foe?" "Neither one," he replied. "I am the commander of the Lord's army." At this, Joshua fell with his face to the ground in reverence. "I am at your command," Joshua said. "What do you want your servant to do?" The commander of the Lord's army appeared. "Take off your sandals, for this is the place where you are standing, and it is holy." And Joshua did as what he was told. The fall of Jericho. Now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of Israelites. No one was allowed to go in or out. But the Lord said to Joshua, "I have given you Jericho, its king, and all the strong warriors. You and your now fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day you are to march around the town 7 times with the priests blowing horns. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horns, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse, and the people can charge straight into the town." Between Bethel and the west side of Ai. But Joshua remained among the people in the camp that night. Early the next morning, Joshua roused his men and started towards Ai, accompanied by elders of Israel. All the fighting men who were with Joshua marched in front of the town and camped on the north side of Ai, with the valley between them and the town. That night Joshua sent 5,000 men to lie in ambush between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the town. So they stationed the main army north of the town and the ambush west of the town. Joshua himself spent the night in the valley. When the king of Ai saw the Israelites across the valley, he and his army hurried out early in the morning and attacked the Israelites at a place overlooking the Jordan Valley. But he didn't realize there was an ambush behind the town. Joshua and the Israelite army fled towards the wilderness as though they were badly beaten. Then all the men in the town were called out to chase after them. In this way they were lured away from the town. There was not a man left in Ai or Bethel who did not chase after the Israelites, and the town was left wide open. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Point the spear in your hand towards Ai, for I will hand the town over to you." Joshua did as he was commanded. As soon as Joshua gave this signal, all the men in the ambush jumped up from their position and poured into the town. They quickly captured it and set it on fire. When the men of Ai looked behind them, smoke from the town was filling the sky, and they had nowhere to go. For the Israelites who had fled in the directions of the wilderness now turned on their pursuers. When Joshua and all the other Israelites saw the ambush had succeeded and that the smoke was rising from the towns, they turned and attacked the men from Ai. Meanwhile, the Israelites who were inside the town came out and attacked the enemy from the rear. So the men of Ai were caught in the middle, with the Israelite fighters on both sides. Israel attacked them, and not a single person survived or escaped. Only the king of Ai was taken alive and brought to Joshua. When the Israelite army finished chasing and killing all the men of Ai in the open fields, they went back to finish off everyone inside, so the entire population of Ai, including men and women, were wiped out that day, 12,000 in all. For Joshua kept holding out a spear until everyone who had lived in Ai was completely destroyed. Only the livestock and the treasures of the town were not destroyed, for the Israelites kept these as plunder for themselves, as the Lord had commanded Joshua. So Joshua burned the town of Ai, and it became a permanent mound of ruins, desolate to this very day. Joshua impaled the king of Ai on a sharpened pole and left him there until evening. At sunset, the Israelites took down the body as Joshua commanded and threw it in front of the town gate. They piled a great heap of stone over him, and it can still be seen today. A great heap of stones over the king's dead body. The Lord's covenant renewed. When Joshua built an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel, on Mount Ebal, he followed the commands that Moses, the Lord's servant, had written in the book of instruction. Make me an altar from stones that are uncut and have not been shaped with iron tools. Then the altar they present burnt offerings and peace offerings to the Lord, and all the Israelites watched. Joshua occupied onto the stone of the altar the instructions Moses had given them. Then all the Israelites, foreigners and native-born alike, along with the elders, officers, and judges, were divided into two groups. One group stood in front of Mount Gerizim, the other in the front of Mount Ebal. Each person faced the other, and behind them stood the Levitical priests carrying the Ark of the Lord's covenant. This was all done according to the command that Moses, the servant of the Lord God, had previously given for blessing the people of Israel. Joshua then read to them all the blessings and curses Moses had written in the book of instruction, every word of every command. That assembly of Israel, including the women and children and the foreigners who lived among them. The Gibeonites deceive Israel. Now all the kings west of the Jordan River heard about what had happened. These were the kings of the Hittites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, Jebusites, who lived in the hill countries in the western foothills and along the coast of the Mediterranean Sea, as far north as Lebanon mountains. These kings combined their armies to fight as one against Joshua and the Israelites. But when the people of Gibeon heard what the Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they resorted to deception to save themselves. They sent ambassadors to Joshua, loading their donkeys with weathered sandalbags and old patched wineskins. They also pulled out worn, patched sandals and ragged clothes, and the bread they took with them was dry and moldy. When they arrived at the camp of Israel at Gilgal, they told Joshua and the men of Israel, "We have come from a distant land to ask you to make a peace treaty with us." The Israelites replied to these Hivites, "How do we know you don't live nearby? For if you do, we cannot make a treaty with you." They replied, "We are your servants." "But who are you?" Joshua demanded. "Where do you come from?" They answered, "Your servants have come from a very distant country. We have heard of the might of the Lord your God and of all he did in Egypt. We have also heard of what he did to the two Amorite kings east of the Jordan River, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth. So our elders and all our people instructed us, take supplies for a long journey, go meet with the people of Israel and tell them, we are your servants, please make a treaty of us. This bread was hot from the oven when we left our homes, but now, as you can see, it is dry and moldy. These wineskins were new when we filled them, but now they are old and split open, and our clothing and sandals are worn out from the very long journey. So the Israelites examined their foods, but they did not consult the Lord. Then Joshua made a peace treaty with them and guaranteed their safety, and the leaders of the community ratified their agreement with binding oath. 3 days after making the treaty, they learned that these people actually lived nearby. The Israelites set out at once to investigate and reached their towns in 3 days. The name of these towns were Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack these towns, for the Israelite leaders had made a vow to them in the name of the Lord, the God of Israel. The people of Israel grumbled against their leaders because of the treaty, but the leaders replied, since we have sworn an oath in the presence of the Lord, the God of Israel, we cannot touch them. This is what we must do. We must let them live, for divine anger would come upon us if we broke our oath. Let them live. So they made out woodcutters and water carriers for the entire community as the Israelite leaders directed. Joshua called together the Gibeonites and said, "Why did you lie to us? Why did you say that you lived in a distant land? Would you live right here among us? May you be cursed. From now on, you will always be servants who cut wood and carry water for the house of my God." They replied, "We did it because we, your servants, were clearly told that the Lord, your God, commanded his servant Moses to give you this entire land and to destroy all people living in it. So we feared greatly for our lives because of you. That is why we have done this. Now we are at your mercy. Do to us whatever you think is right." So Joshua did not allow the people of Israel to kill them. But that day he made the Gibeonites the woodcutters and water carriers for the community of Israel and for the altar of the Lord, wherever the Lord would choose to build it. And this is what they do to this day. Wait, to this day? That's crazy. I don't know how this is real. Israel defeats the southern armies. Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, heard that Joshua had captured and completely destroyed Ai and killed its kings, just as he had destroyed the towns of Jericho and killed its king. He also learned that the Gibeonites had made peace with Israel and were not afraid, and were now their allies. He and his people became very afraid when they heard all this, because Gibeon was a large town, as large as all the royal cities, larger than Ai, and the Gibeonite men were strong warriors. So King Adoni-Zedek of Jerusalem sent messengers to several other kings, Hoham and Gibram, Piram of Jarmuth, Japhia, and Lachish, and Debir of Eglon. "Come and help me destroy Gibeon," he urged them, "for they have made peace with Joshua and the people of Israel." So these 5 Amorite kings combined their armies for a united attack. They moved all their troops into place and attacked Gibeon. The men of Gibeon quickly sent messengers to Joshua and his camp in Gilgal. "Don't abandon your servants now," they pleaded. "Come at once, save us, help us, for all the Amorite kings who lived in the hill country are joining us in forces to attack." So Joshua and his entire army, including the best warriors, left Gilgal and sent out for Gibeon. "Do not be afraid of them," the Lord said to Joshua, "for I have given you victory over them. Not a single one of you will be able to stand. None of them will be able to stand against you." Joshua traveled all night from Gilgal and took the Amorite armies by surprise. The Lord threw them into panic, and the Israelites slaughtered them in great numbers at the Gibeon. Then the Israelites chased the enemy along the road of Bethron, killing them all along the ways to Azekah and Makkedah. As the Amorites retreated down the road from Beth Horon, the Lord destroyed them with a terrible hailstorm from heaven that continued until they reached Azekah. The hail killed more of the enemy than the Israelites killed the sword. One day the Lord gave the Israelites victory over the Amorites. Joshua prayed to the Lord in front of all the people of Israel. He said, "Let the sun stand over Gibeon and the moon over the valley of Ajalon." So the sun stood still and the moon stayed in place until the nations of Israel had defeated its enemies. In this event, not recorded in the book of Jashar, the sun stayed in the middle of the sky and it did not set on a normal day. There had never been a day like this one before or since the Lord answered such a prayer. Surely the Lord fought for Israel that day. Then Joshua and the Israelite army returned to their camp at Gilgal. My throat is scratchy and it hurts. I talk too much. Joshua kills the 5 southern kings. During the battle, the 5 kings escaped and hid in the cave at Makkedah. When Joshua heard that they had been found, he issued this command: "Cover the openings of the cave with large rocks and place guards at the entrance to keep the kings inside. The rest of you continue chasing the enemy and cut them down from the rear. Don't give them a chance to get back into their town. For the Lord your God has given your victory over them." So Joshua and the Israelite army continued the slaughter and completely crushed the enemy. They totally wiped out the 5 armies except for a tiny remnant that managed to reach their fortified towns. Then the Israelites returned safely to Joshua in the camp at Makkedah. After that, no one dared to speak even a word against Israel. Then Joshua said, "Remove the rocks covering the openings of the cave, and bring the 5 kings to me." So they brought the 5 kings out of the cave: the king of Jerusalem, Hebron, Jarmuth, Lachish, and Eglon. When they brought them out, Joshua told the commanders of the army, "Come and put your foot on the king's neck." And they did as they were told. "Don't ever be afraid or be discouraged," Joshua told his men. "Be strong and courageous, for the Lord is going to do this to all of your enemies." Then Joshua killed each one of the 5 kings and impaled them on 5 sharpened poles, where they were hung until evening. As the sun was going down, Joshua gave instructions for the bodies of the king to be taken down from the poles and thrown into the cave where they had been hiding. Then they covered the opening of the cave with a pile of large rocks, which remains to this very day. I wonder if you can actually find their bodies. Well, it's probably not there anymore, but I'm sure maybe we can find a cave with rocks in front of it like that. Okay, anyways, that's all for today's video. Thanks for watching. Bye, and I'll see you in Joshua video number 2. This is Joshua video number 1. Joshua video number 1. Bye.